Cassette 1, Side 2. Practice Test 2. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1 of your question booklet. Section 1. In this section, you will hear 2 overseas students, Kate and Lukey, being interviewed by a university counsellor. First look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to the example will be played first.
Hi there, Kate. Come on in. How are you today?
Fine, thanks.
Hi, Lukey. How's things?
Okay.
Well, as I explained on the phone, I'm a counsellor here at the Student Services section of the university. And I'm interviewing overseas students to help me draw up a guide for new students. So I'd be grateful if you could tell me a little about your time since you've been here in Cambridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Kate, let's start with you. Okay. This is your 2nd semester, isn't it? Could you tell us something about your first impressions of the town when you arrived?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was struck by how quiet it is here in the evening.
Kate's first impression of the town is that it is quiet in the evening, so quiet is the answer. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Now listen to the first interview with Kate and complete the notes by filling in the numbered spaces 1 to 5.
Hi there, Kate. Come on in. How are you today?
Fine, thanks.
Hi, Lukey. How's things?
Okay.
Well, as I explained on the phone, I'm a counsellor here at the Student Services section of the university. And I'm interviewing overseas students to help me draw up a guide for new students. So I'd be grateful if you could tell me a little about your time since you've been here in Cambridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Kate, let's start with you. Okay. This is your 2nd semester, isn't it? Could you tell us something about your first impressions of the town when you arrived?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was struck by how quiet it is here in the evening.
Yeah, I suppose Cambridge is a quiet place. Where did you live when you first arrived?
Well, I went straight into student accommodation. It was a kind of student hostel.
Ah, right. So, you didn't have to worry about doing your own cooking or anything like that?
No, but sometimes I wished I had. The food at the hostel was awful.
Oh, dear. But how were the other students?
To be honest, I haven't managed to make many friends, even though the place is full. People seem to keep to themselves. They're not really very friendly.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, what about the actual course? You're studying,
I'm doing a master's by coursework in environmental studies.
Oh, right. And how are you finding that?
Yeah, well, it's been pretty good, really. I've enjoyed the course, but I feel there hasn't been enough contact with the lecturers.
Oh.
They all seem to be incredibly busy. The only chance I've really had to talk to them was on the field trip.
Well, that's no good.
Mm-mm.
Could anything be done to improve the course, in your opinion?
Well, I think it would be helpful to have meetings with lecturers on the course. say once a fortnight, something like that.
Regular meetings. Yes, that could certainly help. Now, Kate, we'll come back to you in a minute, but I'd just like to ask Lukey some questions.
Before they continue the interview, look at questions 6 to 10. As you listen to the rest of the interview, complete the notes.
Lukey, where are you from?
I am from Indonesia.
And how did you find Cambridge when you first arrived?
Well, I like it here. I think the city is very beautiful.
What about your accommodation? Was that okay?
Yes, okay. At first, I stayed with a family for 3 months. They were very kind to me, but they had 3 young children, and I found it difficult to study.
Right, I see.
So after 3 months, I moved out, and now I live with 2 other students in a student house. It's much cheaper, and we like it there.
Good. And, what about your studies? What are you studying?
I'm doing a Bachelor of Computing.
Computing, I see. Apart from the language difficulties, if you can separate them, how have you found the course?
Okay, but...
Yes, go on.
Well, the main difficulty for me is getting time on the computers in the computer room. It's always busy, and this makes it very hard to do my practical work.
Yes, I'm sure it would. Can you reserve time in the computer room?
No, you can't. But it would certainly help if we could reserve computer time.
Yes, I'll look into that and see if something can't be done to improve things over there. Now, let's go back to Kate.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a talk given by a guide showing a group of people round a museum. First, you have some time to look at questions 13 to 18. Now listen to the guide and complete the notes by filling in the numbered spaces 13 to 18.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Maritime Museum. Now, before we commence our tour, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about the history of the museum. As you can see, it's a very modern building, built in the postmodern style, and it was in fact opened by the Prime Minister of Australia in November 1991. It's been designed with a nautical flavour in mind, to remind us of our links with the sea. But the museum isn't only housed in this building. There are a number of historic ships docked outside in the harbour which form part of the museum, and which you are also free to visit. And we'll be coming to them shortly. I'd just like to point out 1 or 2 things of general interest while we're here. handicapped toilets are located on this floor, and the door shows a wheelchair. The cloakroom, where you can hang your coat or leave your bags, is just behind us here. The education centre is on the top floor, and there's a good little library in there which you might like to use. Follow the signs to the education centre. You'll see a lot of little green arrows on the wall. The green arrows will take you there. The information desk, marked with the small letter I on your plan, is located right here in the foyer. So if you get separated from your friends, I suggest you make your way back to the information desk, because we'll be returning to this spot at the end of the tour. All right? Now, if you look out this window, you should be able to see where the museum's ships are docked. If you want to go on a tour of the old ship, the Vampire, she's docked over there, and you should meet outside on the quay. However, a word of warning. I don't recommend it for the grandmas and grandpas, because there are lots of stairs to climb. Right now, let's move on. Oh, I almost forgot to give you the times for that tour. Now, tours of the Vampire run on the hour, every hour. All right?
Now look at questions 19 to 23. As you listen to the rest of the talk, complete the notes in the numbered spaces 19 to 23.
Let's take a walk around the museum now. The first room we're coming to is the theatre. This room is used to screen videos of special interest, and we also use it for lectures. There's a continuous video showing today about the voyages of Captain Cook, so come back here later on if you want to learn more about Captain Cook. Now, we're moving along the gallery known as the Leisure Gallery. This is one of our permanent exhibitions, and here we try to give you an idea of the many different ways in which Australians have enjoyed their time by the sea. Surfing, swimming, life-saving clubs, that's all very much a part of Australian culture. At the end of this section, we'll come to the picture gallery, where we've got a marvellous collection of paintings, all by Australian artists. I think you can buy reproductions of some of these paintings in the museum shop. They're well worth a good look. Now, we're coming to the Members' Lounge. Now, as a member of the museum, you would be entitled to use the Members' Lounge for refreshments. Membership costs $50 a year or $70 for all the family. So it's quite good value, because entry to the museum is then free. And down at the far end of this floor, you'll find the section which we've called Passengers and the Sea. In this part of the museum, we've gathered together a wonderful collection of souvenirs from the old days when people travelled by ship. You'll find all sorts of things there. Old suitcases, ship's crockery, first-class cabins decorated in the fashion of the day. Just imagine what it must have been like to travel first class. Now, I'm going to leave you to walk around the museum on your own for a while, and we'll all meet back again at the information desk in 3/4 of an hour's time. I hope you enjoy your time with us at the museum today. Thank you.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 3. Two students, Dawn and Ilmar, are discussing a project that they are working on together. First, you have some time to look at questions 22 to 25. Now listen to the first part of the conversation and complete the fact sheet by filling in the numbered spaces 22 to 25.
Hi, Dawn.
Oh, hi, Ilmar.
I'm glad I've bumped into you. I've just found a great idea for the presentation we've got to do for Dr. Banks next month.
What, the one on everyday objects?
Yes. Look at this article. It's really interesting.
The aluminium Coke can?
You know, Coca-Cola cans, soft drink cans. Look, let's sit down here. Have you got a minute?
Sure. I'll just get my bag. Okay. So, you think we can get a presentation out of this article?
I'm sure we can. First of all, we can provide some interesting facts about the aluminium cans that we drink out of every day.
Like?
Well, here it says that in the US they produce 300 million aluminium drink cans each day.
Wow! 300 million?
Exactly. That's an enormous number. It says here, outstrips the production of nails or paper clips. And they say that the manufacturers of these cans exercise as much attention and precision in producing them as aircraft manufacturers do when they make the wing of an aircraft.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
They're trying to produce the perfect can, as thin but as strong as possible.
This bit's interesting. Today's can weighs about 0.48 ounces. Thinner than 2 pieces of paper. From this magazine, say.
Yeah, and yet it can take a lot of weight.
More than 90 pounds of pressure per square inch. 3 times the pressure of a car tyre. Okay, I agree. It's a good topic.
Now look at the diagram of the aluminium can and at questions 26 to 31. As the conversation continues, label the can by completing the notes in the numbered spaces 26 to 31.
What I thought was that we could do a large picture of a Coke can and label it, and then talk about the different parts. Look, I've done a rough picture here.
Okay, so where shall we start?
Well, the lid is complicated. Let's start with the body first. I'll do a line from the center of the can, like this, and label it body. What does it say?
It's made of aluminium, of course, and it's thicker at the bottom.
Right, so that it can take all that pressure.
And then I think you should draw another line from the body for the label.
Right, label. The aluminium is ironed out until it's so thin that it produces, what does it say?
A reflective surface suitable for decoration.
That's right. Apparently it helps advertisers too.
Yes, because it's so attractively decorated.
Good. And then there's the base.
Yes, it says the bottom of the can is shaped like a dome so that it can resist the internal pressure.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Nor did I. Okay, so going up to the lid, there are several things we can label here. There's the rim around the edge, which seals the can.
Got that. And there's a funny word for the seal, isn't there?
Yes, it's a flange.
What does it say about it?
Well, the can's filled with Coke or whatever, and after that the top of the can is trimmed and then bent over to secure the lid.
That's right. It looks like a seam. We could even do a blow-up of it, like this. F-L-A-N-G-E.
Yes, that would be clearer. I think we should label the lid itself and say that it constitutes 25% of the total weight.
25%?
Mm.
So it's stronger than the body of the can.
Mm. So to save money, manufacturers make it smaller than the rest of the can.
Didn't know that either. So, how do we open a can of Coke?
First of all, there's the tab, which we pull up to open the can, and that's held in place by a rivet.
I think that's too small for us to include.
I agree. But we can talk about it in the presentation. We can show the opening, though.
That's the bit of the can that drops down into the drink when we pull the tab.
Yeah, hopefully. Sometimes the tab just breaks off.
I know.
Anyway, the opening is scored so that it pushes in easily but doesn't detach itself.
Okay. We can show that by drawing a shadow of it inside the can. Like this. I'll label it Scored Opening. Great. Well, I think we've got the basis of a really interesting presentation. Let's go and photocopy the article.
Fine. I'll take it home and study it some more.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear a talk given by a university lecturer about the structure of the university. First, look at questions 32 to 36. Now listen and answer questions 32 to 36.
Good morning, and welcome to the University of Westlands. My name is Marcia Mayhew, and I'm the coordinator of the Bachelor of Social Science degree. This morning, I'd like to tell you about the structure of the university and about some of the requirements of the degree that you're about to enter. The Bachelor of Social Science is in one faculty within the university. That is the faculty where I work, known as Arts and Social Sciences. Here on this campus we also have the faculties of Architecture, Law and Science and Technology, among others. It's important to know something about the structure of the faculty because as you go through your course, you may need to call on members of the staff to help you. At the top of the faculty, we have a dean, and below the dean, we have 3 divisions. Each division has a divisional head, and your degree is located in the Division of Social Sciences. Within each of the divisions, there are the departments, and each of these offers the different degrees. For instance, 2 of the departments which offer the major subjects for your award are Sociology and Psychology. Each has a departmental head, but for practical purposes, the people you are going to see the most of are myself as coordinator of the Social Sciences degree and the actual lecturers who are teaching the subjects that you are taking. For instance, in the first semester, you'll be doing 4 subjects: psychology, sociology, history, and economics. If you have any problems or difficulties, not that I'm anticipating you will, but you never know, then you should go and see your lecturers. For instance, you may find that you can't meet a deadline for an essay, or perhaps you're having problems with attendance. These seem to be the 2 most common problems that students face.
Now look at questions 37 to 41. As you listen to the rest of the talk, answer the questions 37 to 41.
If your lecturers are unavailable, you can always come and see me in my office. I'm available on Wednesday and Thursday mornings and on Friday afternoons. Outside these hours, perhaps you could ring the secretary and make an appointment. Now, you'll note that all of the subjects which you undertake in the first year are composed of lectures and tutorials. A lecture is about an hour long, and a tutorial usually runs for about 2 hours. A lecture is rather like what I'm doing now, where one person will talk to all of you together on a subject. Now, we do ask you to try to attend the lectures. A tutorial is perhaps where most of the learning occurs at a university. You will be divided into groups of between 12 and 15 students, and each week one of you will have to present a piece of work to the group as a whole, and then the group will discuss what you've said. It's this discussion, this exchange of ideas, which really constitutes the basis of university learning, in my view. Listening to lectures in many ways is just giving you information that you could access for yourself in the library. But the discussion at the tutorial is very important. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to the lectures, though. Other factors to be particularly concerned about are the structure of essays and delivery of written material. And in particular, I would like to mention the question of plagiarism. Plagiarism is taking other people's work without acknowledging it. That is, without saying where it comes from. Now, of course, all essays are based on research done by other people, but you must remember to attribute the work to the original writer. And while it's a good idea to work with other people, don't hand in work which is exactly the same as your friend's work, because we will notice. If you don't acknowledge the source of your information, then you run the risk of failing the subject, or in very serious cases, you might be denied entry to the university. Last but not least, stay in touch with us. If things are getting you down, don't go and hide. Come and talk to us about it. That's what we're here for. Right. Thank you very much for coming along today.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test.